Hello, this is Mitchell Sanders, and I am bringing you another chapter for the Golden Eagle, specifically Chapter 4. Probably could have done that intro a little bit better. Oh well, whatever. The goops and the flubs make it all the more real. At least that's what I tell myself. Alright, let's get going. Lee brushed his hands off while James stood to his feet. Hands stained with blood. Feeling better? Lee asked, looking away from the body. Larissa looked green in the face, and her body trembled. Well, I've killed enough time here. I need to get going, Lee said as he grabbed the scabbard for his cutlass and slid it into the red sash at his waist. It was serving as a temporary belt. Lee, wait, James said. Perfect, Lee thought to himself, sighing. I was screwing you over, and I'm sorry. I shall escort you to the bog. At least from there you should be able to get where you're going, he said, clearly not thrilled about his position. Yeah, you're only saying that because the doctor and your brother, Lee thought to himself. I would very much appreciate that, he said, instead a cool smile appearing on his face. By all means, you have the map, he said, ushering with his hands. James slumped his shoulders. So how did you get stuck here, James asked, resting his arm behind his head. It's not a very interesting story, to be honest, Lee said. Admitted. I was forced into service, and I found a way to spite him. I'm more interested in as to why the doctor is here. A good surgeon is not something that's not something you want to waste. True, but an untrustworthy one is a lot worse than an armed pirate, Larissa retorted. I worked my intern on a small Navy ship, if you must know, and I was attacked, and any specialist, no matter how poorly trained, is useful. Being a woman made things difficult. Rather than being walked all over, I made it a habit to fuck people over when they tried to do the same to me. After the pirate Lord Morgan, de Bloomfingers, Smith got his... Alright, let's try that again. After the pirate Lord Morgan, de Bloomfingers, Smith got his forbidden power, I wasn't all that useful anymore. Luckily, I found my shocky stick here, or else we wouldn't be talking. Travis shook his head, making an X motion with his hands as Lee raised his eyebrows, but Travis stopped when Larissa looked at him. Shocky stick? Lee asked. Travis smacked himself on the forehead. Larissa reached over her shoulder and pulled an angled object from the sheath. It had a long hilt with a forked end with two spheres at the attached and with two spheres on the adjacent rods. Lightning jolted between the two of them while Larissa cocked her hips to the side. And if you give me any trouble, I'll zap you. Like this, she said with a smile, and touched Lee gently with the rod and slammed him on his ass. His heart rate spiked for a minute while he sat dazed on the ground. Any questions? Why is the rum always gone? Lee mumbled out, his vision swimming. He shook his head, breaking the daze and standing shakily to his feet. So much for do no harm, he grumbled. Larissa only winked at him. He grimaced, his mind reevaluating the threat levels of the group. Mwah! A scratchy voice cried as a parrot dropped into view. Give me a spear. Lee said coldly, glaring at the bird. Okay, James said, handing him the spear. As Lee threw it at the bird, but it fell a few feet away from his body. The bird flew off, cawing with a sound like a very cruel laugh. I hate that bird. That was sad, Larissa commented. Lee ignored her while James took point. I feel bad taking you to your doom, but it's your choice, he said after a moment of silent quiet. Better die here than long enough to become a cannibal, he replied, glancing behind him. If a tree falls in the middle of a forest and no one is around to hear, does it still make a sound? Larissa asked, glancing at Lee. It's a matter of ethics. If one can be so easily cowed into giving in, does he have the right to his freedom? Lee asked, face brightening. What good is freedom if you die before you get to use it? Larissa asked. Life is fleeting, he replied. Break it up, James said. You don't need the attention of your big mouths are going to drag in, he grumbled. Larissa and Lee both shot him a hard glare. Get him later? Lee asked in a low whisper. You can take him with you, she replied. James only shook his head. So, you want to know how my brother and I got stuck on this island? Travis asked. No, but it'd be a good way to pass the time, Lee admitted. Well, I'm a shipwright. I love big boats and I cannot lie. And I love building and crafting them. My brother here is a carpenter. Both of us combined, we can make about anything. Given the time and resources, he boasted. Shh, his brother hushed. Sorry, he whispered back, rubbing the back of his head. But our father was a master of both building and repairing. My brother and I each took a side and decided to work from one end to the other in order to replicate his skill. While still being able to go into business as soon as possible, of course, Lee said, keeping his voice low. Fascinating. You completely avoided the original question, Lee said, placing his thumb and index finger on his goatee. Oh, sorry, my brother and I were working on our first ship, but the boat was attacked, he admitted. Pirates? Lee asked, glancing over at him. No, mermaids. Damn creatures somehow managed to destroy the underside of the boat. Could have been manageable, but anyone who got too close was dragged underwater. So we slowly took on water. We did manage to make some makeshift repairs, but they kept undermining any progress we made. We made it back to the land, but the ship crashed into the beaches here. We lost a lot of people, good men in more ways than one. You got lucky. These waters are not safe. In some cases, people have been dragged out of their boarding parties, Travis explained. The island seems to be built as a death trap, he surmised. You have no idea, Larissa said over her shoulder. I bet. So, how far away are we? Lee asked, leaning forward and trying to make out what was in the distance. Long enough, James said. And hush, the lot of you. This place has enough ways to kill a man. I don't need you attracting any more. He hissed. Caw! Roared a voice, which clearly belonged to something bigger than your average parrot. Everyone, scatter! Travis cried out as the group split. Travis and Lee headed into the thick of the trees, and the right as a massive animal crashed into the ground behind them. Lee spotted the head of a bird, the body of a lion, and the tail of a snake, and a pair of striking bat wings. Shit, it's a fucking chimera, Larissa cried out. And the creature roared into the air with a hungry look in its eye. Beast turned, looking right at Travis and Lee, as a long tongue touched its lips. I think it's hungry, Travis admitted. The two slowly backed away, but the creature still moved in on them. I don't like this one bit, Travis said, slinking back until he was pressed against the trunk of a tree. Lee grimaced, drawing his blade and ready to defend himself. Bro! James shouted, rushing the creature from behind, but the snake's head tail hissed and snapped at him. James whipped at it with his sword. Lee frowned, still backing away. Travis, is there any way we can climb up, he asked, not daring to take his eyes off the creature. I got nothing. The roots are too big to climb over, and the nearest branch is a little out of reach, he admitted, moving to Lee's side and jabbing the creature with his spear. Well, I don't know if I should hate myself for not checking for an escape route or admiring the eagle-cat thing for being able to outfox me, Lee grumbled. Maybe a bit of both, Travis suggested. Lee nodded in agreement while the creature growled at the two. Okay, we have two heads that bite, and I think we get far apart and let this thing choose who to attack and who to let slit its throat, Lee advised. Travis nodded before inching away. The eagle's eyes flashed at both of them before glaring at Travis and making him the target. Just great. It's always the fat guy, Travis growled, clearly not thrilled with the creature's decision. Lee charged, bringing the blade down and ready to aim for the creature's underbelly. The cat flashed at an impossible speed, given its size. Lee's vision blacked out for a second while he fell to the ground, and he heard a horse scream as he thought for a moment with Travis. That's the last thing I need, he thought, his vision clearing. He saw the cat falling back from his spot on the ground. He grabbed the cutlass and kicked off the ground, looking for something to steady himself. Eat lightning, you son of a bitch! Larissa cried, her shadow flashing over Lee as he watched her land on the creature's back with her stick, while her stick sent a paralyzing amount of electricity into the creature's body. Lee watched as the creature thrashed, the bird's head biting at her. The bird's head biting at her. Lee glanced around before dashing out of striking distance. Ah! She cried out. Lee barely had time to spin around before her body slammed into his. His vision was already unsettled. The world seemed to be spinning again. He white-knuckled his blade as he slammed into the base of a tree. This place is a statistical nightmare. How the fuck am I still... Shit, Lee said, freezing as his eyes went wide. Time seemed to crawl as he saw his unusual eyes looking back at his goateed face. A paw was moving down, aimed right at his face. His voice cut off as he raised the cutlass, jabbing the blade forward onto the oncoming chest. The sword slid in, cutting flesh, while the creature loosed a pitiful cry. Lee sat back, saw black as the body above him went limp. Flesh flowing around him, he winced, expecting something of that size to crush him. The pile of flesh simply pushed him to the ground with a light thump. Right, it flies. It cannot be too heavy, he said, bouncing his hand off of the side of his head. He pushed the animal right off, palm pressed against the bark of the tree. But then, his hand gave way. He felt his heart skip a beat as his body slid out from the animal and he dropped into darkness. Ah! He screamed, the light above him vanishing, and nothing but the sound of his blade followed him down. Alright, that is chapter 4. I have to admit, I don't think I'm necessarily a very good narrator, but I'd like to thank everyone for actually hanging around. This chapter was a little bit shorter overall, and I have to admit, despite writing for, so many friggin' years, I still see every single frickin' mistake I make. Oh boy. I really do need to actually get some practice on all this, and hopefully I'll keep doing that and keep getting some practice in. Anyway, hope you all have a good day, and chapter 5 shouldn't be too much longer. Thank you, and